the footprints in the terms of the glorification of the Leela of Krishna, the name of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, and all we have to do is to follow them. So, Maharaj Yudhishthira makes this famous statement, Mahajana eva tathasutam, that one can achieve perfection simply by following the footsteps of the great personalities. So we may not know everything about Krishna, or we may not know even little thing about Krishna. But if we develop faith in the devotees of Krishna, so we see that when Prabhupada came, then very few people knew about Krishna. They were mostly fascinated with at least at that time, with the whole exotic India concept. And for various reasons. Some people were inspired by Prabhupada, some people liked the fact that he represented an exotic tradition, they followed Prabhupada. And so many of them, Prabhupada would say, from hippies to happies, they became simply by following Prabhupada. So, the verse also says that Yashoda Mai Jahasa means she smiles slightly at Swasutasya karma, at the activities of her own son. So why does she smile? Two reasons are given. One is by Harisori Prabhu is given as, so he explains it by a logic that is known as Vadhu Marsha Vapanyaya. So, are there any Marathis? So, anybody who speaks Marathi? So, so you know what Marsha is? Marsha.
You know? Marsha.
What's the Marsha? Rajma. What's the Marathi for Rajma? There's not even Marathi.
There's no word.
So where is Ujjain? Maybe, okay.
Yeah.
But in Madhya Pradesh they speak Hindi, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I for some reason I thought it was in Maharashtra. So.
They're excused now.
They're off the hook.
Vadhu Marsha. So the way the Vadhu Marsha Vapanyaya explained that there was once a Brahman who lived in Ujjain, and he made this vow that on every Dwadashi, anybody who comes to his house, he will take a fistful of Rajma and give it in charity. So people came to know of it that, this Brahman has made this vow. So they would come to his house and he would, according to his vow, he would give a fistful of Marsha, Rajma in charity. And the number of people began to grow. So then he began to worry that so much Rajma is going out, I can't afford to give so much. So then he came up with an alternative. So his son had recently married, so he had a very young daughter-in-law. So he said, my hands are really big, my daughter-in-law's hands are very small. So I had made the vow to give one fistful of Rajma, so I'll put it in her fist and she will give it. So that's what he started doing, that his daughter-in-law would take a fistful of Rajma and give it. And his daughter-in-law was young and very beautiful. So then the word spread around that there is a young, beautiful woman giving out Rajma. So then the number of people doubled who came to collect the some for the Rajma, some for seeing the daughter-in-law. So this is known as Vadhu Marsha Vapanyaya, that you start off doing something thinking that it will be to your advantage, but it gives you the opposite result. So Yashodama is smiling, saying that I went to save that one pot of milk on the stove, and now I've lost this whole pot of milk that I was churning as a yogurt. Second reason why she's smiling is that she's as a mother, she's happy that my son has become strong. So 3 years old and very expertly has broken the pot. I mentioned, so he broke it at the bottom, at the base, so that there would be not much sound from it. And just the fact that he could pick up a stone, break it, and run away. So she's the queen of Raj. She has unlimited number of cows, unlimited milk, unlimited yogurt. She's not really concerned about that. So she's smiling, slightly smiling, Jahasa, that my son is growing up so quickly. He's becoming stronger and stronger. And as a mother, she's also concerned that Krishna is becoming very naughty. So she says, I have to discipline also. So when Radhanath Maharaj speaks on this verse, he says that she's concerned that Krishna is becoming a hippie. So she decides to discipline him. So following his footsteps, she goes out of the room. So we'll go to the next verse. So I'm going to be going a little faster based on Indulekha's instructions. He said that I was taking a lot of time on every verse. So I do want to finish the Damodar Leela. I think at the rate I'm going I may not be able to finish this because there's so much commentary and so many points and acharyas. Just like the gopis in Braj, they churn the milk to get yogurt and butter. The acharyas, they churn these verses and get so many realizations out of it. So people can be discussing, and people do discuss on these verses for days and days together. But we'll go a little faster. Okay, next verse, 8. Ulukalaangre ruparari vyavasthitam markaya kamam dadatam sichistitam hayangavam chaurya vishankitekshanam nirikshaya paschat sutam agmakachane. Krishna at the time was sitting on an upside down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations such as yogurt and butter to the monkeys as he liked. Because of having stolen, he was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yashoda, upon seeing him, very cautiously approached him from behind it. So Krishna has done his deed. He's broken the yogurt, and externally he's appearing to be very nonchalant. That's okay. I'm the king of Raja. So he's casually sitting on this ukhal. If you go to Gokul, they will actually show you that ukhal. I'm pretty sure it's not the same ukhal, but there is an ukhal over there that they will show you. And it's a little different from what's been picturized. Here it's picturized as like two V's, like upper V and lower V.
Like an hourglass.
Like an hourglass. There it's more like a cylinder, like a cylinder over there. So I remember when we had gone to Gokul, that was when we had also heard this Damodar Katha. We had gone on a yatra there, so we had He had sat over there and heard the Damodar Katha over there. So it's an upside down opal, and Krishna is sitting and eating butter, and then he simultaneously is feeding the monkeys, he's throwing it on the ground. So he's feeding the monkeys to show Mother Yashoda what poor quality butter she's making. That he's trying to justify that the reason I broke this butter is that this pot of butter is that it's actually meant for monkeys only. It's not meant for human consumption. So part of it is throwing on the ground, part of it is feeding to the monkeys. Another reason he's feeding to monkeys is that because the acharyas say that in his previous incarnation, Krishna had come as Lord Ram. That time he took a lot of service from monkeys. His army was monkeys only, and they fought against the army of Ravan. And then if you see the description in Ramayana, the army of Ravan, they were all equipped with really all these weapons and spears and swords, and some of them had divine weapons. And then what were the monkeys fighting with? They had rocks and tree trunks, or they were using their nails and biting. So they were put into a lot of difficulty by the Rakshasas. Many of them were killed in the battle. Of course, Lord Ram glanced at them and revived them. So after the battle finished, then Vibhishan had asked for some service. Then Lord Ram says that you take all this gold and jewelry and precious stones in the treasury of Raman, and then you distribute it to my army. Vibhishan said, absolutely. And Raman was immensely opulent. So he took all the gold and jewels and from the air, they dropped it on the monkeys' armies. And all the monkeys took the gold and all that and they threw it away. Because for them it was like stone. They played for it for some time and they threw it away. So then Lord Ram said, I still am in that debt. But when I come, next time, I'll repay the debt. So by his own hands, can you imagine the fortune of the monkeys? By his own hands, he's feeding those monkeys with yogurt and butter. So what else is going on? That he is sitting on the mortar, and then he is looking around in fear. So he looks at the monkeys and he smiles, he gives them some butter, some he eats, and then he looks back. Is Mother Yashoda coming? Am I going to get chastised? So in the Purusha Sukta, Krishna, or Lord Vishnu, he is glorified as Saharsa Sirsa Purusha, Saharsa Aksha, Saharsa Pad. That he is that personality, Saharsa Sirsa, who has 1,000 heads, Saharsa Aksha, 1,000 eyes. The acharyas say that the same Vishnu who has 1,000 heads and 1,000 eyes, at this point is displaying 1,000 heads and 1,000 eyes in fear of Mother Yashoda. There he displays his 1,000 heads and 1,000 eyes to maintain the universe, to receive the worship of his devotee. And Krishna says that everywhere I am, everywhere are my eyes, everywhere is my presence. Because he is sustaining everything. He is everywhere there because he is receiving praise from his devotees everywhere. But the same Saharsa Sirsa Purusha is now displaying 1,000 heads and 1,000 eyes to protect himself out of the wrath of Mother Yashoda. So we were discussing how the acharyas say that one by one Mother Yashoda takes away all the upadhis of Krishna, of his grandeur, of his omnipotence. So another upadhi taken away. Yeah, you are Sahasra Sirsa, but in order to out of fear of Mother Yashoda. What else? He's sitting on top of the ukal. The ukal is also known as ulukal. Hariswari says that kal also means villain. You say Khalnayak, Nayak is hero, Khalnayak is villain. Ulukal means super villain. So, what is Krishna doing sitting on the Ulukal? He's feeding the monkeys. That's the quality of Krishna. That he may be associating with the most fallen people, but his divinity is never impacted. Wherever Krishna is, he is the personality of God. Whether he comes as a boar, whether he comes as a tortoise, whether he is associating with the demons, Krishna is Krishna. Also, the Ulukal is actually helping Krishna to serve the monkeys. So any mode can be used in the service of Krishna. You don't have to be a Brahman. Brahmins are considered to be in the mode of goodness. Right? And traditionally they say, if you're not a Brahman, devotional service difficult, become a Brahman. So actually in India they say, you be born a Brahman. And Vaishnav they say, become a Brahman. But actually Krishna is so liberal that you don't have to even become a Brahman. In whatever state that you are, if you accept Krishna, so what the Ulukal has accepted Krishna on top of it. That I am under Krishna, Krishna is on top of me. And now it is engaged in the service of Krishna. It is helping Krishna associate with his devotees. So the material modes are irrelevant. They help, definitely. In Bhagavad Gita there is so much emphasis on the mode of goodness. Chapter 8, chapter 13, qualities of mode of goodness are described. But not mandatory. Like people in the mode of ignorance can serve Krishna. When the churning of the ocean was there, then Vasuki was in the mode of ignorance, the snake that was around the churning rod. It was serving Krishna. Arjun was in the mode of passion, on the battlefield, fighting, killing, serving Krishna. And then of course there are so many Brahmins who are in the mode of goodness, executing yajnas, reciting mantras, pleasing Krishna. So the common theme is accepting Krishna as the personality of God. Agreeing to serve him, everything else falls in place. The verse also describes the fear of Krishna. That out of fear Krishna is constantly looking back and looking around. And so many places in the scriptures, Krishna, he talks about himself as Abhaydan. That he is the person that is feared by fear personified. In the third canto, Kapila, he says that because of my supremacy the wind blows out of fear of me. The sun shines out of fear of me. And the Lord of the clouds, Indra, sent forth showers out of fear of me. Fire burns out of fear of me. And death goes about taking its toll out of fear of me. And this is the same personality that is sitting fearful of Mother Yashoda. Later on, when Balram comes, and he starts to, he gets very upset when he sees Krishna is tied. And he goes to Mother Yashoda and he says, do you know who he is? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You have tied him like this? I'm his expansion. We are both Supreme Personalities of Godhead. So Mother Yashoda says, I have another rope. You want me to tie you also? So Balram runs away from the... So even Balram cannot comprehend that how the sweet relationship between Krishna and his pure devotees. That Krishna is genuinely feeling scared of Mother Yashoda. So this quality of fearlessness, another upadhi taken away by Mother Yashoda. He who instills fearlessness in others is now sitting fearful of his mother. Okay, moving on. Next verse. Do it.
Yashodamaya is following him cautiously. Is there any explanation on that?
I do. If you have some explanation.
तामात्तयास्तिं प्रसमीक्ष सत्वरास् ततः अवरोह्य अपससार भीतवत् गोप्यन्वदावन्नयम् आपयोगिनां क्षमं प्रवेष्टुं तपसा ईरितं मनः. When Lord Sri Krishna saw his mother, stick in hand, he very quickly got down from the top of the motor and began to flee as if very much afraid. Although yogis try to capture him as Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter into the effulgence of the Lord with great austerities and penances, they fail to reach him. But Mother Yashoda, thinking that same personality of Godhead Krishna to be her son, began following Krishna to catch him.
Thank you. So on her way to catch Krishna, Mother Yashoda picks up a small stick in her left hand, and Krishna in the meantime, because of his guilty conscience, so it said that fear is a symptom of guilt. So because he had guilt, he had fear, and Mother Yashoda is Agma Shane, that she's coming very, very quietly. So the interesting thing is that even though Krishna is constantly looking behind, he does not see Mother Yashoda. Actually, the monkeys see her. And when the monkeys run away, then Krishna understands that his Maya is behind him. So the monkeys, even to this day, the monkeys of Vrindavan, they're very, very naughty. They create so much of trouble and they're practically fearless. I remember I was sitting in a shop in Loi Bazaar once, and I had the bag in the bench in front of me, and then I slowly saw the bag moving like this. Very, very slowly it was moving. And then I looked at it and I saw there was this small tiny monkey, baby monkey, and that monkey had reached out and was slowly moving right under my nose. It was moving the bag. And then I put my hand on the bag, so they are fearless. I put my hand on the bag, the monkey looked at me, looked at the bag, and then sauntered away. Like, it wasn't scared that it would get beaten or anything like that. Just that it's been caught, let me find somebody else. They're fearless. But they're scared of a stick. One of the things that devotees do in Vrindavan, especially if they're going to go for yatras, buy a stick. And you don't have to use it. But just with a stick in your hand, they respect you. They will give you good distance there. So the monkeys who were happily eating yogurt, they saw Mother Yashoda coming with stick in hand, and they disappeared. So Krishna saw the monkeys disappear, and so he understood that Mother Yashoda is coming. Now, why wasn't Krishna able to see Mother Yashoda, even though he was looking around? Interesting explanation. That the stick is jad. Now, of course, this is the stick in the spiritual world, but for the sake of explanation, the acharyas say that the stick is jad. Jad means material, inanimate. So, and it represents the tendency to chastise, dominate, so material qualities. So as long as the jiva is carrying these material qualities, Krishna will not be glancing on the jiva. The glance of Krishna will only fall when one divests themselves of these qualities. Like with stick in hand, you think that I'm great, I'm powerful, let me punish the other person, everything belongs to me, that Aishwarya Bhav. Essentially a symptom of false ego. So because Mother Yashoda had that stick in her hand, Krishna was unable to see her. But when he deduces that she is coming, then he jumps off the ukhal. So he's just 3 years old. Ukhal is big enough that his feet are not touching the ground. So he's sitting there swinging his feet, feeding the monkeys, and sees Mother Yashoda coming. And when the need is, then children are like lightning. Right? So in a blink of an eye, he jumps off the ukhal and runs away. Even before Mother Yashoda can register what's going on. Right? So the reflexes of the kids that way. So if you ask them to do something, they'll move in slow motion. Right? Can you pick up this bag and put it over there? Then it's actually a movie in slow motion. They'll go slowly pick up that bag, and it may be an empty bag, but they'll pick it up as if it's like all the weight in the world. But when they're being naughty, then you look at them and then they're disappeared. They're somewhere else. So Mother Yashoda, she blinks her eye, and Krishna is gone. So Krishna's plan of action at this point is that he wants to run out of the house to the street. So Simbadwar is considered to be, so at that time there used to be collection of houses were called one house. And then there's a Simbadwar, there's a courtyard that is common to the houses. And his plan of action is I run out to the main street. There I will get protection from somebody. Because everybody in Gokul, they consider Krishna as their child. Since somebody will protect me, or maybe I'll just outrun her. I'll go and hide in somebody's house. So with that plan of action, Krishna is off the ukhal, running towards the main door. So let's see what happens next. The verse also talks about the fact that Krishna is running and Mother Yashoda is running. Mother Yashoda is running with the anticipation of catching Krishna. And Sukdev Goswami says this is the same personality that the yogis cannot catch. So the yogis, by the mystic power, they can travel at the speed of mind. Prabhupada would say that at the speed of mind, if you travel for 40,000 years, you will reach Brahmaloka. So the yogis traveling at the speed of the mind can only approach the toenails of Krishna after a very, very long time. And Mother Yashoda, The next verse will say that Mother Yashoda, she's not a sprinter, she's not built for sprinting, but she is anticipating that she will catch Krishna. She does not give up. She does not say bhagya to bhagya, but she's anticipating with determination that she will catch Krishna. So in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, 8th chapter, there is these wonderful prayers by Queen Kunti. And when Queen Kunti was not present at this time, but she heard about this pastime from Rohini. And then she says that Bhaya Bhavanya Sthitasya, that for me to even conceive that the same person after whom everybody is running and unable to catch is running away. The same person who's feared by everybody is full of fear. So she says that sight is bewildering to me. Now the interesting thing over here is, at least I was thinking like that Kunti Devi, who's an exalted devotee, is sharing her bewilderment at this pastime. When I was reading, I was not bewildered. I was like, okay, Kunti Devi, Krishna is running, Yashodama is. So I'm like, maybe I'm more advanced than Kunti Devi. Right? She's getting bewildered, I'm not getting bewildered by it. But actually the understanding is, so it's kind of like this, that if somebody comes to me and says that the constant of gravity has changed by 10 to the power minus 7, right? I'll say, okay, who cares about it? But if that same statement is made to a scientist who is highly advanced, they know that if it changes by even 10 to the power minus 7, the whole universe will collapse. It has to be fixed to some big number of digits, because even a small change makes the universe. So if somebody tells them that this has changed, for them it will be earth-shattering. Same difference. The reason Kunti Devi is surprised because she knows more about Krishna. She is situated much more strongly in the tattva of Krishna. So I may have a theoretical understanding of Krishna's greatness, appreciating his position. She is experiencing it. So that is why she says, I'm shocked that this person is running. When Krishna was running away from Kalyavan, then Kalyavan was a Kshatriya, the great warrior, and he was sprinting behind Krishna, and Krishna was walking in front of him. But Krishna was just outside his reach. Like he would sprint after Krishna, and then he was saying that he's just walking, and both same size, not that Krishna was small or big, but always Krishna was a little bit outside his reach. This is the personality now that is running out with fear that I may not be caught by my mother. That's the glorification of the position of a devotee. The Damodar Leela is not so much a glorification of Krishna. It is glorification of Yashoda. It's the glorification of devotee and devotion. So that is why it is so much relished by other devotees. Okay, we'll go to the next verse.
Anvanchamana janani Bruhatsalakshoni Bharakrantagati Sumajyama Javena Visramsita Kesavandana Chutaprasunanugati paramrishat. While following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, her thin waist, overburdened by her heavy breasts, naturally had to reduce her speed. Because of following Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose and the flowers in her hair were falling after her. Yet, she did not fail to capture her son Krishna.
Thank you, George. So, Sukadeva Goswami describes Mother Yashoda as somebody not really suited for running. So, full-bodied and wearing a sari, ornaments, not attired for and not suited for running. Now she is running behind Krishna. Right? Sometimes parents do is they'll cut the kid off. So they'll wait for the child to run like this and they'll cut the child off. So they sneak up on the child. Not happening in this case. Krishna is running ahead and Mother Yashoda is running behind him. And actually, Krishna has a head start. Because even before Mother Yashoda had begun to run, Krishna was running. So he had a head start. So he moved. Krishna is small, nimble body, and head start, moving much faster. And Mother Yashoda is running after him. She still catches him. So Hariswari says the problem with Krishna was that while he was running, he looked back to see how am I doing? Do I have, how much of a head start do I have? When he looked back, he looked into the eyes of Mother Yashoda. When he looked into the eyes of Mother Yashoda, he saw the anger in her eyes and he froze. And Mother Yashoda pounced and caught him at that time. So in the Damodar Ashtakam, Satyavrata Muni, he says that he was caught from behind. He was caught from behind, not because Mother Yashoda was running faster than him, but because he was bound by the ropes of the relationship with his mother. In this case, fear. That he turned back for a moment and thought that, let me see how much ahead I am of my mother. And then he made the mistake of looking into her eyes. And that was it. He froze. And Mother Yashoda caught him. What else is happening? That as Mother Yashoda is running, the flowers on her hair are falling. And Vishwanath Chakravarti says three kinds of flowers with three different consciousness. So these are Malati flowers. One group of flowers, they say that what is Yashoda Mai doing? She is running after the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not a good thing. We don't want anything to do with this. So they jump off her hair and fall off.
We commit suicide.
They commit, they say we can't be a part of this, so let us
That's what Radhanath Mani says.
let us commit suicide. So they jump off her hair. Then there is another group of flowers. They are saying that, very good. How great is Mother Yashoda? That the personality of Godhead is running away in terror of her. Everybody thinks that he is the greatest, but we are actually sitting on the head of somebody who is greater than the personality of Godhead. And then they say, how can we sit on our head? Our place is in our feet. So they jump off. And then there is a third group of flowers. And they are looking at the race going on and they are saying, she's almost caught him. And then they are thinking that we are sitting on her hair, slowing her down by our weight. So if we jump off, then she will be a little lighter and she can catch Krishna. So they jump off the the hair. So this verse also talks about the importance of endeavoring for Krishna. So right from the beginning, the mood that is being set is that Mother Yashoda could not have caught Krishna because, for one, he had a head start, he was smaller, nimbler, faster. Mother Yashoda does not give up. She is still endeavoring. So when devotees start on the path of Krishna consciousness, then it looks like it's an impossible task. So much to do, so many things to do. There are so many competing priorities to do. Very difficult to endeavor. Right? Mother Yashoda did not say that I'll go and change in my gym clothes and come back and then catch Krishna. Or I'll wait for Krishna to get tired and then I'll catch him. Then and there, she's running after him. So whatever situation one is in, it is the right situation to perform devotional service. Whether one is a brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, or in the retired life, whether one is a brahman, vaishya, kshatriya, shudra, regardless, one's job is busy, one's job is not busy, one is a teacher or one is a butcher, does not make a difference. The only thing that makes a difference is what is the effort that is being put in. And that's what will enable one to eventually catch hold of Krishna. Okay, moving on to the next verse. And I think this will be the last one, right? We'll stop at this verse. Okay?
Vrutaagasantam prarudantamakshini kasantamanjanmasini swapanina udvikshamanam vayavihvalekshanam haste grutva vishayanti avagurat. When caught by Mother Yashoda, Krishna became more and more afraid and admitted to being an offender. As she looked upon him, she saw that he was crying, his tears mixing with the black ointment around his eyes. And as he rubbed his eyes with his hands, he smeared the ointment all over his face. Mother Yashoda, catching her beautiful son by the hand, mildly began to chastise him.
So earlier Krishna was acting as if he was treated unjustly. Right? He had this list of complaints that you were feeding me and then you kept me down and went to look for this milk in the kitchen, and I was hungry and starving, and so okay for me to act the way that I did. Now that he has been caught, his strategy has changed. So his strategy now is that I'll come clean, I will admit that I made a mistake, my mother will pick me up on her lap and feed me. So everything will be okay. Right? So now that Mother Yashoda has caught him, different strategy by Krishna. So because of the guilt, the fear that Krishna had was so we see that Krishna at one time acting in one way, another time acting in another way. And the acharyas say that this is the symptom of the souls in the material world. That the soul is guilty. What is the soul guilty of? Bahirmukhi. That the soul knows that my constitutional position is to serve Krishna, but I am not doing that. I am serving my own senses. how does that guilt manifest? It manifests as fear. So that is why the common thread in this material world is bhaya. Srila Prabhupada says that everybody is fearful of everything at all points of time. The rich are fearful that their wealth may be taken. The poor are fearful that they may not get food. Those who are chivalrous are fearful that their reputation might be taken. Those who are serving others are fearful that their masters might reject them. So in all situations, at all points of time, there is fear. And fear is all pervasive because the cause of the fear is all pervasive, which is guilt. So when one takes to devotion, what does Krishna promise? He says, Abhaya Dana. Why does the fearlessness come? Because the root cause of the fear is being rectified. The guilt is coming from rejecting Krishna. So when one remediates that, then the guilt goes away and the fear goes away. Sometimes when you see devotees, I remember we were talking to, in Gita Nagari, we were talking to one devotee couple, and they're probably in their proper disciples, they're probably in the 60s, and they essentially lived out of a car. And not now, for the last 20, 25, 30 years, they were living out of a car. And essentially they would go from one university to another, they would distribute books, no source of income, they would just depend on whatever they would distribute. They would, most of it they would use it for buying new books, some of it they would use for their own sustenance. But I kept asking, so I'm talking about Prithvishwar and Damayanti. Damayanti, right?
No. Prithu and no, not Damayanti.
Prithvishwar and Danaki.
Danaki.
And then I kept asking them, but Prabhu, you're at a point where, so what do we think that retirement, how to plan for a retirement, how to save for the money? And I was thinking that, what will you do when you're older? When you're 70s or 80s? And they were not concerned. They were like, Krishna will take care. Whatever happens. And it's interesting that just a few days ago I was reading that, so this conversation happened many years ago, I think at least 10 years ago. I was reading that, and now they're older, that devotees actually, they got together and built them a house. They, small house, but they built them a house. So that fearlessness comes when we accept the position of Krishna. Another reason is that Krishna is famous for one who cleanses the jiva of the 6 contaminations: Kam, Krodh, Madh, Lobh, Matsarya. So, what is one of the contamination that he fears of is Krodh, anger, and related to anger is fear. Here both are present. Mother Yashoda is angry and Krishna is fearful. So Krishna is running away saying that, Maya, don't destroy my reputation. I am famous as one who drives away all these contaminations. And now because of you running after me, everybody will say that when I am present, anger is present and fear is present. So please don't. So he is fearful of losing his reputation as the one who drives away all contaminations. He's also rubbing his eyes. That is what he says, that this is a tactic done by children, that when the mother catches them, then they rub their eyes so that more tears come out and mothers become compassionate. So he's rubbing his eyes actively so that the eyes appear redder and more water comes. So in a way to evoke more sympathy from his mother. So typically mothers, what they do is when they see the child crying, so they will take the pallu of the sari and they will clean the face. I mean, they will continue to chastise the child, but they'll clean the face. That, that's okay. The compassion is there. Mother Yashoda is so angry at this time that she does not do that. Another reason why is rubbing his face is that Krishna had his in Vraj. Krishna had a reputation of being the gang leader. He was like the boss over there, and other kids looked up to him. Like he was the one who would arrange things, plan things. Right, and so his eyes had what is known as anjan, kohl, right, kajal. So Krishna is thinking that I'll cry, and all this kajal will streak on my cheeks. And then when I go and play with my friends, they will see the streaks and they will say that looks like you got beaten up today. Looks like you were crying. So it doesn't look like you're really a tough gang leader anymore. So Krishna is rubbing it away so that no streaks come. Also, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Shashi Surya Netra, that my eyes are the sun and the moon. Now we know that the Kshatriyas, they are descendants of the sun and the moon. So Krishna says that these Kshatriyas, they are represented by my eyes. These are valorous, chivalrous people. My mother is an abla. Abla means nari. Abla means one who does not have strength. Right? So this is my mother is an abla. But then here she is becoming prabala. Prabala means that her strength is becoming more than my strength. So this black ointment that I have in my eyes, everybody will think that this is a black mark on the Kshatriya dynasties who are famous for their chivalry. So they will say that scared of a abla, scared of a woman. What kind of Kshatriya are they? So he is rubbing away the anjan to remove that black mark that might come on the eyes. After this pastime, Krishna's friends, they started teasing him and they started calling him Anjanash. So Anjanash means one whose desires are never fulfilled. That Krishna is famous for fulfilling all his desires by himself. So Krishna desired to drink the milk of Mother Yashoda, not fulfilled. Krishna tried to run away from Mother Yashoda, not fulfilled. Krishna tried to not get tied to the mortar, not fulfilled. So the friends would tease him that all your desires, you're useless, all your desires are not fulfilled. So Krishna is saying that this anjan, this is going to be a black spot on my reputation over here. So he is rubbing it away, that maybe people will not think that way. So ultimately Krishna is demonstrating the power of crying. So in Chanakya Niti, it is said that Durbalasya Balam Raja Chauranam Anrutam Balam Balam Murkhasya Monityam Balanam Rodanam Balam. That Durbalasya Balam Raja, that the strength of the weak is the king or the law. Right? The law or the king protects the weak. Chauranam Anurtam Balam. That for the thief, the strength is telling lies. They get caught, they say, we didn't do it. I actually saw somebody else do it. So that's their strength. Then Balam Murkhasya Monityam. The strength of a fool is silence. As long as they are quiet, nobody knows they are foolish. When they start speaking, then they'll say this person is a fool. And Balanam Rudanam Balam. The strength of a child is crying. Right? When the children cry, then everybody is scared, even the parents. If you, it's been many years, but I remember when we used to go to Toys R Us, then you would see these children in the aisles, they would be screaming and the parents would be terrified. Like, what do you want? Right? And the crying, as soon as they would get it, it's like a switch, the crying stops immediately. Right? And before that, it's like it's the end of the world. The child is like, screaming and all that. Because the children know that Rodhanam Balam. So Krishna is ultimately relying on the defense of the child. So Acharyas say that we are like children to Krishna. If we cry, we will get Krishna's attention. In Bhagavatam, it is said that when one takes the name of the Lord and is not able to cry, that heart is steel-framed. So Prabhupada says that one should cry for Krishna. If one is not able to cry for Krishna, one should cry for the fact that they are not able to cry for Krishna. But at some level, there should be that hankering. There should be that sense of desperation. That I am not able to, why am I not able to chant? Even that is partly. Or when you chant, then you chant in the mood of crying. So that is the mood that is being displayed. So I'll pause over here, and before we start with the Damodar Ashtakam, any comments, any realizations? Yeah, go ahead,
Question,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you mentioned that the guilt will lead to fear. So is that the guilt that Krishna will punish? Is that the reason for fear? How guilt transforms to fear, Prabhuji?
It's guilty conscience, right? If you have a guilty conscience, then you're fearful of everything, right? So you steal from somebody's house and then you go, then you're not only fearful of the police, you're also fearful of the neighbors. You're also fearful that somebody may have seen me on the road. I remember this is many years when I was first in DC. This is in the 80s, and I didn't know much at the time. So, and of course I didn't have money, so I was staying in a really bad neighborhood. And then I was standing once and looking into somebody's car, and I was just looking, curious. And that person came running out. Why are you looking into my car? What business do you have looking into my car? And anyway, I apologized and I went over. And then later on I was talking to somebody and they were saying you should not do that. Because at least in the neighborhood I lived, they said people are doing drugs, people are doing all kinds of illegal stuff. So anytime you're looking into what they think their business is, they become very angry. Yeah. So it's not that I was a cop, and I'm sure looking at me, he didn't think like I was like a real threat or anything like that. But just that guilt that something may get me in trouble. Right? So the effect of guilt is very, very pervasive. And in this case, the guilt is constitutional. The soul's constitutional position is to serve Krishna. So you're deviating from your constitutional position. So just like the guilt is constitutional, the fear also becomes pervasive. It permeates every aspect of one's existence. It's not just like I'm fearful that I'm not worshipping Krishna, but I'm fearful that I'm going to die. I'm fearful that I might not get food to eat. I'm fearful that somebody else will attack me. So wherever it will manifest is inconsequential. But the fact is that it permeates every aspect of one's existence. Okay, so we'll pause over here. Shri Shri Ram.